Raheem Sterling is top of the league and he's won a domestic treble. How good does that sound? Raheem was absolutely brilliant this season. One of his standout seasons in his career so far, if not the standout season. He won obviously the Young Player of the Year, which is interesting given his age, you know. We'll take that. And he also won the Football Writers Player of the Year, I think, was it in the end? Someone clarified that. Either way, he had a fantastic season in the Premier League and a fantastic season for Manchester City Football Club where he scored an absolute ton of goals for us across all competitions. If you got 25 and 18 assists, so that's 43 goals and assists in 51 appearances. That's following off a season where he got, let me double check, so that's 43 and 51 this season, and last season he got, let me do some maths, 40 in 46. Slightly lesser ratio this season, but still an absolute phenomenal return. I actually did think Sterling had a slightly quieter second half of the season. I know he got a couple of goals in the final, could have been a hat-trick, but the goal was eventually given to Gabriel Jesus, the one he tried to nab. But I think his second half of the season was a little bit less effective than the first half, but he was still the kind of guy who gives you 8 out of 10 most games, but he wasn't quite the 9 out of 10 performances, sometimes 10 out of 10 performances you got in the first half of the season, but he was still so effective and still Guardiola's go-to winger. He obviously became the first choice starting winger with Sane and Mahrez kind of fighting for the other spot with Bernardo Silva, who won out pretty much most weeks there, with Bernardo Silva moving centrally at one point obviously, but then back to the wing because he was just so good there. And Sterling played a lot when he was cutting in off the left. He had a very weird season at times with people looking to castigate that weird dive thing against Shakhtar, which was obviously never intentional. He just genuinely tripped up, but he became his season became so much more than that. Obviously victim of racism at some point, and he spoke out quite bravely, and essentially has become a real strong figurehead for young footballers everywhere, young black footballers who felt victims of prejudice, and he stood up and he's empowered so many people. And to do what he did in general, to be that brilliant, to have that kind of negativity towards him for the England games turned around so well with some fantastic performances, to show what he's capable of, to show that bravery, showed how good a footballer Raheem Sterling has become, and how he's not just a fantastic footballer, a world-class footballer, not just a consistent, reliable, brilliant footballer, he's also a great person off the pitch. It's obviously willing to grow into this maturity that he's developing, and now as a 24-year-old, turned 24 in December, and he's becoming more and more responsible as he grows older. He's becoming a leader in this team. I don't think he's fully there yet, and I still think there's a level to go up. Honestly, I believe that with Sterling. I think there's a way for him to go yet again, and I think Guardiola would say the same if you asked that. But his potential is frightening, and he seems to get better every season, and he's really flourishing now as a senior member of this Manchester City team despite his tender years. And it really is worth bearing in mind the weight of the world on Raheem Sterling's shoulders. He's been targeted and booed from fans of opposition clubs for ages now, and to do what he does every single week, to do what he does in the face of such pressure, it's just telling how great a footballer Raheem Sterling is. Now, he had loads of standout games, a hat-trick obviously against Watford in only 64 minutes, a fantastic performance there. He got a couple of goals, could have been a hat-trick and obviously in the final. A couple of goals against Chelsea when we battered them, obviously sharing the headlines that day with Sergio Aguero. A great performance against Southampton when we won 6-1, a couple of goals, a couple of assists. He just smashed teams out of the park more or less on his own. He was, I mean, it's nothing to do with the season, but some of his performances for England as well, a couple of goals against Spain, a hat-trick for England as well. It just adds all to a very satisfying season. He started the season really well as well. Some goals cutting in from the left, firing home against Arsenal. I remember him doing that, Newcastle away. 3 goals in his first 4 games of the season. I do think his form genuinely slightly dropped off, but this was still a season where Raheem Sterling was absolutely brilliant. I think he can get better. I really do believe that. I think he can get stronger in terms of his confidence. I think he can become more clinical in front of goal, though he obviously is showing signs of getting better already. And I think there'll be a time where he just basically terrorises teams on his own frequently every single week. As it is, this was still a brilliant season. I don't think he quite reached the Bernardo Silva levels personally. I don't think, as I said before, anyone in this team had a 10 out of 10 season. I think this was a season defined by collective brilliance as opposed to one individual dragging us to the finish line. If you're having someone who's getting 40 goals or something like that in a season, that's like a 10 out of 10 season. De Bruyne was so close to it last year. But I don't think anyone did that this year. I think we had a collection of fantastic performers that none of them stole the headlines, that all probably admit they could do better at certain moments, but were all still excellent in their own right. That's why I'm giving Sterling a 9 out of 10. I wrestled about giving him a 9.5. He's maybe a 9.25, but I don't want to go to splits. I want to keep it out of 0.5 or 0 kind of system. I'm going to give him a 9 because I think he could be even better in bigger games sometimes. I think he can be basically a little bit more consistent, but he's still fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And obviously a trusted lieutenant now for Guardiola, a senior player, becoming a senior player essentially. But not quite at the level yet of Bernardo Silva, I think, in terms of towards the end of the season. I think Bernardo Silva really was the one that led City towards all the titles at the end of the year. Sterling, as good as he was, Aguero and whatnot, they were great. But I think, to me, Bernardo was the one that dragged everyone there. So that's why I'm giving him only a 9 compared to Bernardo's 9.5. It's still a fantastic score. As I said, I'm a tough critic, but I think it's a very fair score. I think if you ask Sterling himself, he wouldn't say it was a 10 out of 10 season for him. I forgot to mention as well, during all this, how did I forget to mention it? He scored the winning penalty, obviously, in the Carabao Cup. To do that what he did, the bravery. Right, I'll give him 9, but imagine this was a 9.25, really. It's kind of round up a little bit, but to do what he did there, the context of everything, absolutely fantastic. And I still think he can get better next season, and I think he'll improve on it. I really think he will do, because he's a fantastic player, only getting more confident. And fingers crossed, he's looking at 30 goals next season for Manchester City Football Club. That should be his aim, because that's what the very best do, and he wants to be at that level. Anyway, guys, that's just my Sterling video. Go check out the Sarni one previously. Up next, we've got who we got next? We've got Mr. Gabriel Jesus coming up next, and after that, Aguero. So stay tuned. As ever, thank you to the people here, my patrons who support this channel and help keep this channel growing every single day. Thank you very much for all your support. You're absolute heroes. If you want to get involved, patreon.com/Esteemed Kompany. If not, just like this video. Watch the rest of the videos in this series. There's loads of them. This was like number 22 out of 24. 23 and 24 coming up very soon. Subscribe, like, comment, and see you soon.